Have you ever noticed how Sigma males can cut ties without looking back and never lose a night of sleep over it? For most people, burning bridges feels scary. It's messy, emotional, and full of second-guessing. But for a Sigma, it's different. When they decide someone, something, or even an entire environment no longer aligns with who they are, they walk away with absolute certainty. No drama, no explanations, just silence and distance. And that's exactly what makes them so hard to control. In this video, we're breaking down the brutal truth behind why Sigma males burn bridges without regret, the psychology, the hidden strength, and the lessons you might need to hear for your own life. And if you're ready to see what most people can't handle about the Sigma mindset, watch all the way through. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to Ultrawise and hit that bell, because every week we uncover the truths about psychology, mindset, and the rare Sigma path that no one else is talking about. 1. Silence as the final warning. For most people, silence is simply a pause in communication, a temporary gap before the conversation resumes. But for a Sigma male, silence is something very different. It's not accidental, and it's not a momentary lapse. When a Sigma male goes quiet, it's a calculated choice, and often the only warning you'll ever get before the bridge is burned for good. Unlike others who might express frustration through arguments, complaints, or emotional outbursts, Sigma males don't waste their energy on drawn-out explanations. They believe that when someone has crossed a line, whether through disrespect, betrayal, or manipulation, words won't fix what's already broken. Instead of repeating themselves or justifying their feelings, they withdraw into silence. And this silence isn't passive, it's a boundary being drawn without negotiation. This is why their silence feels so unsettling to others. People are used to confrontation, to having a chance to argue, defend, or manipulate the situation back into their favor. But when a Sigma goes quiet, that chance doesn't come. It creates an atmosphere of finality, a cold clarity that speaks louder than any argument could. For those on the receiving end, it often feels confusing at first. They may think the Sigma is just upset or needs space, not realizing that the relationship is already in its final stage. By the time the silence sets in, the decision to walk away has likely already been made internally. To the Sigma, silence isn't cruelty, it's efficiency. It's the clearest, most unshakable message they can send. You no longer have access to my energy. And when that silence falls, there is rarely any turning back. It is not the beginning of negotiation, it is the end. 2. Betrayal is the ultimate deal breaker. For Sigma males, betrayal is not just a disappointment, it's the ultimate deal breaker. While many people will tolerate repeated apologies, give endless second chances, or cling to toxic connections out of fear of being alone, Sigmas operate differently. Once you've crossed the line of betrayal, you're no longer part of their world. And, unlike others, they don't look back. This is because loyalty is at the core of a Sigma male's values. They don't let people into their inner circle easily. Their trust is rare, carefully guarded, and only given to those who prove themselves worthy over time. So when that trust is broken, whether through lies, dishonesty, or manipulation, it cuts deeper than most people can imagine. It's not just the act of betrayal that matters. It's the confirmation that the person they let close was never truly deserving of their trust. What shocks others is how final a Sigma's response to betrayal can be. Instead of arguing, demanding explanations, or trying to fix the relationship, they simply cut ties. No drama, no screaming matches, no warnings, just a quiet, resolute decision to remove you from their life. And once that decision is made, it is permanent. To them, betrayal is proof that the foundation was rotten all along, and no amount of apologies can rebuild it. This is why people often regret betraying a Sigma male more than anyone else. With others, there's a chance to talk your way back in. With Sigmas, there isn't. They see betrayal as a clear signal that you don't belong in their life anymore, and they act accordingly. For them, betrayal isn't an obstacle to overcome, it's the end of the story. 3. Protecting energy above all else. For Sigma males, energy is their most valuable currency, and they guard it with everything they have. Unlike most people who spread themselves thin trying to please others, maintain appearances, or keep up with endless social obligations, Sigmas operate with ruthless selectivity. They know exactly how draining the wrong people and situations can be, so they prioritize peace and mental clarity above all else. This is why they're quick to distance themselves from negativity, drama, or anyone who constantly takes without giving back. They don't see it as selfishness, they see it as survival. A Sigma male understands that every interaction, every conversation, and every commitment either adds to their energy or drains it. And because they value independence, they refuse to waste that energy on anything that doesn't align with their growth or inner balance. Awaken proud. People often misinterpret this as coldness, but in reality it's discipline. Where others stay trapped in toxic friendships, unfulfilling jobs, or manipulative relationships, Sigmas quietly remove themselves. They're not afraid of solitude, so they won't hesitate to walk away if protecting their energy demands it. That's why you'll see them go silent or vanish without explanation. It's not about avoiding responsibility. It's about preserving the strength that allows them to keep moving forward. This fierce commitment to protecting their energy also explains why their inner circle is so small. They don't surround themselves with dozens of people just to feel important. Instead, they invest deeply in the few who truly respect their boundaries and bring value to their lives. To Sigmas, quality always outweighs quantity. In a world where most people are drained from overextending themselves, Sigma males stand apart because they protect their energy like it's sacred. And that's exactly why they remain untouchable when others crumble under pressure. Or refusing to be controlled. If there's one thing Sigma males will never tolerate, it's control. The moment they sense that someone is trying to manipulate their choices, limit their freedom, or dictate how they should live, they pull away without hesitation. Control to them is the ultimate violation, because it goes against the very core of who they are: independent, self-reliant, and free-thinking. Unlike others who might compromise or bend just to keep the peace, Sigmas see submission as a slow death to their individuality. They would rather face conflict, solitude, or even loss than give someone power over their decisions. This refusal to be controlled isn't about pride, it's about survival. For Sigmas, freedom equals life. Without it, they feel trapped, suffocated, and stripped of their identity. This often shocks people who are used to having influence over others. Friends, bosses, or partners who try to pull the strings quickly discover that Sigmas can't be swayed by guilt trips, emotional manipulation, or social pressure. While most people worry about fitting in or avoiding rejection, Sigmas have already accepted the idea that walking alone is better than living under someone else's rule. That's why their silence can feel so devastating. Instead of arguing or justifying themselves, they simply stop engaging with the person trying to control them. This quiet withdrawal is more powerful than shouting, because it makes the manipulator realize they've lost their grip completely. Refusing to be controlled is what gives Sigma males their edge in life. They can't be coerced into toxic dynamics, trapped in meaningless obligations, or forced into roles that don't fit their truth. And while this stance often costs them relationships, jobs, or approval, it also keeps them untouchable. In a world built on control, their refusal to submit makes them rare and unbreakable. 5. no need for closure. For most people, closure is a way to feel complete when something ends. They crave explanations, apologies, or final conversations to make sense of what went wrong. But Sigma males don't play that game. When they've decided a relationship, friendship, or situation has drained its last ounce of value, they walk away without looking back. And that silence, that's the closure. This can feel brutal to those on the receiving end. They expect long discussions, emotional unpacking, or even a fight. But Sigmas know something most people don't. Closure rarely comes from the other person. It comes from within. They don't need drawn-out talks to heal because they've already processed the betrayal or disappointment internally. By the time they leave, their decision is final and they owe no explanations. What shocks people is the suddenness of it. One day they may think everything is fine and the next, the signal has disappeared. But that disappearance isn't impulsive. It's the result of quiet observation, reflection, and a conclusion that staying would only lead to more wasted energy. Instead of reopening wounds by arguing or demanding accountability, they protect themselves by walking away cleanly. This refusal to seek closure unsettles people because it takes away their control. They don't get the chance to defend themselves, to manipulate the narrative, or to reel the Sigma back in with guilt. The Sigma's silence becomes the ultimate boundary, forcing others to face the consequences of their actions without the comfort of explanation. In a world where people are addicted to unfinished business, Sigmas remind us of a harsh truth. Not everything needs to be explained, justified, or wrapped up neatly. Sometimes, the strongest closure is no closure at all, just the quiet strength of walking away and never turning back. 6. Walking away as power. For Sigma males, walking away isn't a weakness. It's their greatest weapon. While most people fear abandonment, conflict, or losing connections, Sigmas see detachment as a form of control. They understand that when you're not afraid to leave, you can never be trapped. That mindset alone flips the entire dynamic in relationships, workplaces, and social circles. When others are clinging to approval, reputation, or validation, the Sigma knows he doesn't need any of it to survive. That's why he doesn't argue when disrespected. He doesn't beg for loyalty when betrayed. He doesn't explain himself to those who refuse to understand. Instead, he walks. And in that silence, he reclaims all the power. This shocks people because society is built on dependence. Employees fear losing jobs, friends fear being left out, partners fear being abandoned. But the Sigma isn't bound by those same fears. He's built a life that doesn't rely on anyone else's approval or resources, which means he can exit any situation at any moment. That unpredictability makes him untouchable. The truth is, walking away doesn't just end a toxic dynamic. It exposes it. It forces people to confront their own behavior, often for the first time. Manipulators lose their grip. Abusers lose their control. And even well-meaning people realize they can't take the Sigma's presence for granted. And here's the part that stings the most. When a Sigma male walks away, he doesn't look back. He doesn't leave cracks for people to pull him back through. He closes the door completely. That finality is what makes his silence so powerful. It's not a threat, not a performance, not a temporary escape. It's the ultimate reminder that real strength lies in knowing when to leave and never needing permission to do it. 7. Outgrowing people without guilt. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Sigma males is their ability to outgrow people, and to do so without carrying guilt. Most people cling to relationships long past their expiration date, out of obligation, fear of judgment, or the belief that loyalty means never letting go. But for Sigmas, loyalty has limits. If a connection no longer aligns with their growth, values, or peace, they quietly step away, not with drama, not with shouting, but with calm finality. This shocks people because society teaches that forever is the mark of real relationships, forever friends, forever loyalty, forever bonds. But the Sigma knows that growth means change, and sometimes change means leaving people behind. He understands that not everyone is meant to walk the entire journey with him. Some were there for a chapter, not the whole book, and once that chapter ends, he closes it with no guilt. To the Sigma, staying in stagnant or toxic relationships is far more dangerous than walking away. He knows that forcing connections out of obligation only breeds resentment and drains his energy. Instead, he chooses honesty with himself, and that honesty often means admitting that some people no longer belong in his circle. Others may accuse him of being cold, ruthless, or uncaring when he pulls away, but in reality, his decision comes from clarity, not cruelty. He recognizes that personal evolution requires pruning, much like a tree that sheds branches to grow stronger. By releasing relationships that no longer serve his path, he makes space for the right ones to flourish. Outgrowing people without guilt is not about arrogance. It's about self-respect. It's the recognition that peace, progress, and authenticity come first, even if that means leaving behind people who once mattered deeply. 8. Burning bridges builds freedom. Most people are terrified of burning bridges. They stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and friendships that no longer align with who they are, all because they fear being judged as disloyal or cold. But Sigma males see it differently. For them, burning bridges isn't about revenge or bitterness. It's about liberation. It's about making a conscious decision to cut ties with anything that no longer serves their growth, peace, or authenticity. When a Sigma burns a bridge, it's permanent. Not because he can't forgive, but because he refuses to return to a situation that once broke his trust or wasted his energy. That silence, that refusal to revisit the past, is what creates freedom. It removes the weight of second chances that only repeat the same cycle. It ends the manipulative grip of people who thought they could control him, and it clears the space for new opportunities, stronger relationships, and a future that isn't anchored to the past. This act shocks others because they mistake burning bridges for weakness or anger, but in reality, it's one of the strongest moves a Sigma can make. It says, "I respect myself more than I fear losing you." It's not about hating the person on the other side. It's about choosing not to live in chains. Freedom for the Sigma comes at a cost. He knows walking away may leave him with fewer allies, fewer options, or even temporary loneliness. But he also knows that keeping dead weight is far more dangerous than moving forward alone. Every burned bridge is a declaration of independence, a way of saying he will never be trapped by someone else's expectations again. When a Sigma male burns a bridge, it isn't out of anger, it's out of clarity. He knows his worth, he knows his limits, and he refuses to waste his future on people who've already shown their hand. That silence, that clean break, it's what sets him free. It's not about who he loses, it's about what he gains. Peace, strength, and unshakable independence. Now the real question is, if you had to choose between keeping the peace with others or protecting your own freedom, which would you choose? If this spoke to you, make sure you subscribe and stay with us here on Ultra Wise, because your silence, your choices, and your strength deserve to be understood.